Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I am your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been a very successful basketball coach of a varsity program in northern Michigan. Currently, my daughter and I are coaching one of the best AAU teams in the country. Well, Piston fans, the news came out today about the all-rookie teams, first and second team all-rookie, and the news is not good. We'll dive into that in a minute. Also, we're going to discuss where we're at in the coaching search, and we're also going to talk about the lottery that's 1 week from tomorrow. So let's get right at it. First, we're going to talk about first team all-rookie. So how they determine the all-rookie team is you get either if you get a first team vote, you get 2 points. If you get a second team all rookie vote, team all rookie, you get 1 point. So Bonchero was unanimous. So all 100 votes were first team votes. So he got 200 points. Jalen Williams got just one vote. One voter did not vote him first team. So he got 99 first team votes. And so he ended up with 199 points. Walker Kessler, the big guy from Utah, he received 95 first team votes and 5 second team for 195 points. Keegan Murray from Sacramento received 88 first team and 9 second team. Benedict Mathurin, 71 first team and 28 second team. And Jaden Ivey, our player who was just out of this world sensational, showed so much improvement and growth during the season in his shooting and passing, and even his defense improved. So he received 43 first team all rookie and 56 second team. So he had 142 points. Shockingly, and what really ticks me off is one voter, and this happens with other votes where one guy just has no clue, and he did not vote Jaden first or second team rookie. So I discussed this in a recent episode where there's just so much to do with the narrative, who gets off to a fast start, who's on a winning team, and it's not about who had the best year or who played the best. And it's real disappointing. It seems to be that's more and more the way things are going in sports and in the NBA. So the same thing happens with MVP voting and other things. But Ivey was, third in scoring. He barely scored less. He averaged 16.3 points a game, and the third place most points scored was by Mathurin, and he averaged only 16.7, so only 0.4 of a point more than Ivey. But Ivey was by far the leader in assists with 5.2 assists, which is incredible for a rookie. And his shooting percentages were good. He had lots of steals. He had to carry the team that was devastated and was tanking at the end of the year. It did give him more shots and more opportunities, but he still had a great year, and I really don't believe if you just watched him play, and I guarantee you that all these people, a lot of them watch very few minutes of Piston basketball. I believe that with all my heart, that they listen to, like Mathurin, for example. Mathurin, who finished 5th in the voting for first team, he just had a sensational start. He was sensational for 2 months at the beginning of the season. He shot out of this world, but he just completely fell off a cliff. He ended up with the worst 3-point percentage, which is supposed to be a strength, than what Jaden Ivey did. And that's not supposed to be a strength of Ivey's. But he ended up, even though he, in Indiana had a great start, their team had a great start, and they were in playoff contention early on for about a month and a half. And so that gave him that big boost at the beginning, and people just went along with that. I'm sure that most of those voters still were, he just still lived off his early season success. Walker Kessler, he was a big surprise to everybody, and he was a defensive force, but he averaged 9 points a game. And He got quite a few rebounds, but he only even played 20 some minutes a game, which I guess would hurt his stats. But how significant are if you're only playing that many minutes? But he's 7'2", I think, and his one superpower was blocking shots, and he was sensational at that. I'm not saying he's not good. I just, with all my heart, I believe that Ivey should have been third in the voting for this award, and I still think that there are people. So there's one guy I really respect that really dives deep into the draft. I mean, it's his career is studying the draft, and he had Jaden Ivey outside his top five. That he had Ivey just barely making second team. That he thought he was the sixth best player. But the same guy said if there was a redraft, he would have drafted Ivey second to Banchero. And I think a lot of NBA executives, I would love to see what would happen. I mean, we never know. We'll never know the truth, but in a real world, it would be fun to see where they would draft. If they would draft this 6'4" guy that can go 200 miles an hour, that can dish the ball off at an amazing rate. And also, I think people, the way he improved, that is still the big thing. He improved his passing so much. It was supposed to be a weakness. By the end of the season, it was a strength. And he, again, he was the best, led the NBA rookies in assists by a large margin. And then he also shot the ball. He developed his mid-range, which he didn't have a mid-range. Even at the first month or so, he didn't have any mid-range game. But during this season, he was the first one in the gym and the last one to leave the gym. They had to kick him out, and he improved. And that's so awesome for us with him going forward. Keegan Murray, really good player, best three-point shooting rookie in history according to different stats. I mean, there's different ways of looking at things, but he played for the Kings, and so he shot great. He got wide open looks. He had a whole bunch. He had two All-Stars on his team, and so he got lots of easy shots. His team was the highest scoring offense in NBA history, the best offense according to analytics in NBA history. And so Keegan Murray, he's still on this high-powered offense. He still didn't average that many points. I mean, he averaged 12.3 points a game. So Ivey averaged 4 points a game more, which is very significant. And then Keegan Murray only averaged 1.2 assists on the highest rated offense in NBA history. He did shoot 41% on threes, which is incredible. And so, if we were to get a player like Keegan Murray in the draft, I wouldn't complain. If that was our fifth pick and we got to pick somebody exactly like Keegan Murray, I would be happy. But he's no Jaden Ivey, and I'm telling you that in the same redraft, Keegan Murray, somebody had him like 11th out of if they were to pick redraft last year's NBA draft. So again, he got the big giant boost. They had the third best record in the West, and they were a big story, one of the hottest stories in the league, and so he got lots of bounce for that. And it was just disappointing to me that so much of the narrative gets formed early in the year, or they determine how good you are based on how good your teammates are, and that's not right. So the positive thing is, though, our Duren, there was speculation. A lot of people thought he would make second team, but some people weren't positive, and they didn't have him ranked this high. But he finished just behind Ivey. Ivey had a lot more points, but Duren had 85 second team votes, and so his total was 85. So he had the seventh most points out of any of the rookies. So just behind Ivey, even though Ivey had 142 points. So that was good. Good for Duren that we still had two of the best rookies. I look at the all-rookie team and what does it mean? And a lot of guys, if you go look at past all-rookie teams, and it really doesn't mean anything. And we bragged about so much that we had Sadiq, and he made first team all-rookie, and Stu made second team all-rookie. And so, we were all bragged a lot about that. But the truth is that draft was very mediocre. And if you look at those teams, hardly anybody on that first team would have made first team this year, or even this year Sadiq is good. He had a really good rookie year. He shot better than he did in any of his 3 years with the Pistons, but he would not have made first team. No way this year with the number of players had. The same thing is with last year with Kade's rookie class. They were phenomenal, and the first two teams in Kade's rookie class in 2021 were loaded with a lot of great players. But anyway, let's jump into the coaching search. It's supposedly really getting down to the nitty gritty here. They supposedly are meeting this week in California with owner Tom Gores. That's where he lives. And so the finalists, Kevin Ollie and Jaron Collins and Charles Lee. So I'm high on those guys. Charles Lee, I don't know if he took any kind of a hit because the Bucks got eliminated in the first round, and they were a 1 seed, and they got eliminated by the 8 seed. So that, got Coach Budenholzer, who's been the winningest coach like the last 8 years in the NBA, I think percentage-wise, he got fired. So it's interesting what's going to happen with a lot of these, staffs. The people in the Raptors, they, all their staff is going to be let go because they're going to be hiring a new coach also. So there's going to be different coaches available, but it sounds like we're down to the final 3, and I think I've said on prior podcasts that I'm real fine with Charles Lee. I loved Jaron Collins, and he had a lot of experience and was the defensive coordinator for the Warriors when they won championships. He's a young coach that's been interviewed for other head coaching jobs. He's very articulate. Draymond Green said his defensive game plans were phenomenal. Steve Kerr said he's smart, bright. So I'm kind of leaning towards him. Charles Lee, though, the same thing can be said. That they said he can walk into a room with all the smartest people in the world and fit right in, or a lot of people, just average people, and he can fit right in and talk. And he's very intelligent. So I think either of those people would be good. But there's a report out there that is saying that Kevin Ollie's the front runner. And so you can't always believe speculation, but I do think that I think James Edwards reported it, and James Edwards is the third is usually on top of things. But Kevin Ollie, some people put him down because he coached at Connecticut. He took over and the job and the roster was loaded. They won the national championship his first year there when Calhoun retired. And then they were not successful after that. They lost a lot of games. And then after a little while, he ended up getting fired because there were some recruiting violations, which it's hard to say. Some are more serious than others. But according to reports, the worst violation that occurred was he put some of his recruits and arranged for them, or his assistants arranged for them, to talk to some of his former star players who played at Connecticut, who played in the NBA, and he arranged those phone calls. And so that was what he supposedly got fired for. Not only that, but he sued University of Connecticut and was awarded $11 million after he got fired. So hard to say that he, was terrible for that. But, the Piston job is considered around by NBA executives and different people that talk around the NBA that it's one of the best jobs. And, I think a lot of that's to do with our great young roster with Kade and Ivey and Duren. But we have a high draft pick coming up. We have cap space to get free agents. Troy's done a great job, and I think that's respected around the league. And creating that cap space, we have trade assets that we can have. I think we're considered to have good ownership. And so I think this is a fabulous job. But it will be interesting to see. I would not be surprised if before Tuesday and the lottery that is coming up a week from tomorrow, that we might know our head coach. I know they're not going to rush things. It'll depend on if Gores is how impressed they are with and Troy, how impressed they are with the second face-to-face interviews in California if they come away with somebody. But even though I don't think that Ollie should be hammered because he, got fired for recruiting violations, I do think that he hasn't coached. He hasn't been a head coach in the NBA ever. He hasn't been an assistant coach hardly. So the biggest thing he has going for him, from what I can read, is that he played at Oklahoma City when Troy was there. And he was very well respected. It was a young team with lots of rookies, with Durant and Harden and Westbrook when they were all real young. And he was a mentor to those guys. They loved him. He was considered to be a leader and to really help them out. And I think Troy really admired that and appreciated that. And I think he was an assistant there maybe for a year. So, again, Troy is big about players and people who he's had connections with. So, I just am more comfortable with Charles Lee and Jaron Collins, and I think right now my pick would be Jaron Collins, and I don't know that. I would love to be in the interview rooms with them, but I'm not going to get to be. So anyway, the lottery again, May 16th. That's a week from tomorrow at 8:30 on ESPN, and we have the 14% chance of getting the first pick, 13.4% of getting the second pick, 12.7% of getting the third, 12% chance of getting the fourth, and we have a 47% chance, 47.9% chance to getting the fifth. So we're guaranteed the fifth. So if we don't get one of the first four, we get the fifth for sure. So again, Piston fans, I know you hated this past season more than I did. I love seeing the growth of Ivey and Duren, but I think that once Kade got hurt and we realized that we were going to be losing, we wanted to get ourselves a chance. I mean, in a lot of drafts, I guess next year's draft isn't supposed to be that good, but we have a shot at Victor. And then, like I've reiterated several times, that I am real high on Brandon Miller and Scoot Henderson. I think I'd be thrilled with either of those two picks. I think they could be altering. My next podcast, before the lottery, I'm going to have a podcast about my top 6 players, how I have them ranked in the draft, who I would want for our Detroit Pistons in the draft. So I'll be discussing that real soon with everyone. But we'll see what happens with this coaching hire. It is really important, and I do hope that they make the right choice. Like I said, who knows what the right choice is for sure, but I'm sure that Troy and Tom Gores will do the best job they can. But talking real quick about Mark Stein, who is a really vetted, he's really deep into the NBA. He has lots of sources, and he has said that the Pistons are one of 2 teams that are in the front runners to sign Dillon Brooks. So I think that would be a huge mistake. I do not want Dillon Brooks on my basketball team. I know many of you would disagree. You like a guy with attitude. We have the bad boys. He certainly has a bad boy attitude, but I do think that he's an arrogant jerk, and I think that he, the stuff that he does is, I don't know, it's classless. And I think that our team, we have a bunch of classy guys, and I think that, they play hard, they play tough, they're determined, and, Stu's tough as anybody, and he's a leader on our team. I just don't think we need anybody like Brooks. There's speculation that Brooks wants $25 million a year, which is ridiculous for a guy. He can't shoot. He takes terrible shots all the time, and he wants a bigger role. And so, I even think that's partway why we got rid of Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant wanted this big role, and, Grant had a phenomenal year with Portland, but he is not a guy that you want to be your first option or maybe your second option even, but he's a real good defensive player, and he's a real good scoring shot, even way better for Portland than he did for Detroit. So, but I do not want Dillon Brooks on my team, and I don't think, if you had to ask Cade Cunningham or Jaden Ivey, I don't think they want him either. So there's still that talk about Draymond and what's going to happen with him, and we'll see what the Warriors are playing tonight against the Lakers, and if they lose, they'll be down 3-1, and I think that'll be really hard to overcome. But Draymond is one of the greatest defenders in the last 15 years for sure. He has contributed. They wouldn't have won those championships without him. But I think he's slightly declined. He's not. He's great. One of the great passing forwards in NBA history. But they just leave him open. They don't guard him. And he's older. He doesn't fit our timeline. He would bring some, wisdom defensively, especially to our team. And he would hold players accountable. But I trust Kade. Kade knows how to lead. Kade will talk to players. Kade will show them, on the court by example, but he will also do it verbally. And we have, as of right now, we still have Bogey, and Bogey communicates. Again, I watched him during timeouts when he was not playing at the end of the year, but when he was playing during the year, every timeout, he's always in people's ears. And I think that we have good leadership, and I think that we don't need Draymond, who can't control himself and is older and is going to demand so much money. We don't want it. He's going to want a 4-year contract for over $25 million a year, and why would we want to lock ourselves up with him or Brooks when we have this good young team? We want to be able to sign. So I think that next year, I believe with all my heart, if we could win 15 more games than we did last year, so that would get us at 32 wins. We could win more than that. It depends on who we get in the draft and how things materialize. But regardless, we could win 40 games, and still, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. But that's not when we're going to want to make our jump. So unless there's a big-time free agent that becomes available that we can get for an amount that we feel good about, then we're better off waiting and for the next year and trying to make the big jump and then really see where we're at. So we don't know exactly where we're at. I mean, it's disappointing that Kade didn't play. That would have shown us a lot more of where we're at. But we still need to just be patient, but we need to win. I mean, no tanking next year, and we're going to fight every game. And I think with Ivey, Kade, and Duren, and the rest of the squad that we have, I think we will. Whether we trade Bogey or we keep Bogey, whoever we get in the draft pick is going to be a huge part, I think. But they're still going to take time. Ivey, Duren's still going to be younger than most of the players that are drafted. He will still be one of the youngest players in the NBA and close to the youngest still. But anyway, the lottery again is 8:30 on ESPN. The bottom 14 teams, are going to go after it. But it just to look back, the team that finished with the worst record in the last 4 years, in 2019, the Knicks had the worst record, and they fell from 1 in the lottery. They ended up with the 3rd pick, even though they had the worst record. In 2020, the Warriors had the worst record, and they finished in the lottery with the 2nd pick. In 2021, the Rockets finished with the worst record, and they got the 2nd pick. And so and then also in 2022, the Rockets had the worst record again, and they finished with the 3rd pick. So the last 4 years, every team that finished with the worst record got at least the 3rd pick, which there is no guarantee. Again, there's a simulator on Tankathon that you can go to, and I played with that thing a lot of times, and it doesn't come up good for us a lot of the time. So look at the Pistons did in 2020. They had the 5th worst record, but they fell to the 7th pick. And that's when we got Killian. 2021, we had the 2nd worst record, and we were blessed to move up to the 1st pick, and we got Kade. 2022, we had the 3rd worst record, and we dropped to the 5th pick. So anything can happen, but I'm excited. Things are really going to be exciting, once we know I can't lie. Everybody obviously, Victor would be the dream, and we have 14% chance. And again, I think it was worth tanking to get him. Also, to have the worst record, guaranteeing us at least the fifth pick could make a huge difference. Instead, we could have, finished with got the seventh pick or whatever. So, but a lot of things are going to be more clear. It's going to be really exciting. There's going to be really a lot of talk about the draft after we know where everybody's picking, and just hang on to your hats. And I mean, I don't know if I'm going to sleep the night before. I know I'm going to be a nervous wreck, but I'm going to have one show before the draft, before the lottery, with my top six players, even though we're guaranteed the fifth pick at least. And then I also am going to be on live on the 16th, on a week from Tuesday, when the lottery's going on. And so I'm going to be on, or right after the lottery is announced, I'm going to be on it. So I'm going to have a podcast. So I hope you can listen. Thank you for listening today. And I'm very proud of our Pistons. I'm very excited about our future. Do something nice for somebody. Say a kind word to somebody. Smile at somebody. Just make the world a better place. And go Pistons.